The government here is investigating 2 more people over Chinese interference in Taiwan's upcoming elections. They are suspected of organizing Beijing-funded trips to China, where attendees met with Chinese officials and were urged to vote for opposition candidates in the January race. It recently emerged that hundreds of local politicians had been on this type of trip. Taipei has increasingly warned of Beijing's attempts to disrupt the elections through disinformation, cyber attacks, and cognitive warfare. For more on how China is trying to win over some Taiwanese people, reporter Rick Glauert spoke to Chen-yi of Nottingham University's Taiwan Research Center.
A lot of Taiwanese leaders are sounding the alarm over Chinese infiltration and influence on Taiwan's upcoming elections. How does China try to influence, disrupt, or determine Taiwan's elections?
Every 4 years Taiwan had an election, China would have some military exercise around the island or across the Taiwan Strait, trying to intimidate Taiwanese people. Every time it's actually resolved or received counter effect to actually prompt the opposition party DPP more successful. So in that sense, I think China learned that military exercise actually didn't bring the outcome they would like to have. China still is trying to infiltrate in Taiwan, that's for sure. It's just that they wouldn't do that obviously as a sending over the fighter jet, buying or sanctioning Taiwan. But you just can't really be unaware of China's trying to manipulate Taiwanese audience in terms of the web message of through live, through also the news of the China's infiltration.
And we've been hearing a lot about local Taiwan politicians visiting China, receiving subsidized food and travel, and meeting with Chinese officials there. Could you tell me how big a threat is this sort of thing for Taiwan's elections?
First of all, I don't think these trips are illegal because they are individual and Taiwan is a democracy and which is difficulty. That in a democracy, you could go anywhere, right? You could take the trips and you could receive the whatever the rewards of the trips. But it's just need to see into this ripple effect, how big it could make to the voters. So if those local officials they went to China and then he would be able to influence their voters to a larger scale, I would be very surprised because again that is what I said. Most of the Taiwanese citizens have been aware of the Chinese influence and have been knowing that China is trying to buy hearts and minds.
How has China been changing its tactics as it looks to win over hearts and minds in Taiwan? And are these efforts succeeding?
I think China has been a bit tired of Taiwanese people don't bite the bait. So in that sense, I don't think that China's still trying to do all the time those tricks, but it's not. They just don't find those tricks are really working. The disinformation might work better because it's infiltrating further and deeper to the Taiwanese society. I think that China, in many ways, have been trying to maneuver Taiwan, but in many ways, those tactics couldn't really succeed because it's actually touch upon the really soft part of Taiwanese people's hearts and mind, which is would you like to trade the democracy that your generations and before your generation you fought so much for with autocracy society?